You see someone driving a luxury car, living in a beautiful apartment, and enjoying a life that looks effortless, and it is easy to assume they got there because they were lucky, well-connected, or born with advantages. But the truth is, what really creates the gap between people is rarely luck alone, and it is almost never talent alone. More often, it comes down to the habits they practice every single day. Most people only see the visible results of wealth. They see the lifestyle, the freedom, the confidence, and the comfort. What they do not see is the discipline behind it, the restraint, the consistency, the quiet decisions repeated over and over again for years. Real wealth is not usually built in one dramatic moment. It is built through a system of behaviors that help a person create value, protect their energy, manage their emotions, and make better decisions over time. That is why some people make money and still lose it, while others build steadily and keep growing stronger year after year. If you want to understand how wealthy people think, do not just look at what they own, look at how they live. Here are the 8 habits that many truly wealthy people have in common. How many of them do you already have? Habit 1. They do not worship hustle, but they are never lazy. Truly wealthy people are not always the earliest risers in the world, and they are not all obsessed with extreme hustle culture, but they usually have one thing in common: they are disciplined with their time and energy. They do not stay up until 2 a.m. mindlessly scrolling. They do not waste the most valuable hours of the day in a fog of distraction. They do not let laziness quietly become a lifestyle. Morning is often where the gap first begins. The early part of the day is when the mind is clearest, when distractions are fewer, and when focus comes more easily. That is why disciplined people use those hours intentionally. They think, plan, learn, exercise, reflect, or work on what matters most. Wealthy people are not necessarily working harder than everyone else. Often they are simply living with more order, more structure, and more self-control. And over time, that matters a lot. A person who cannot manage their mornings often struggles to manage their days. A person who cannot manage their days usually struggles to manage their future. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, it may feel like you are gaining rest, but often you are quietly giving away momentum. The wealthy understand something many people ignore: consistency beats intensity. It is not about exhausting yourself. It is about becoming dependable in your own habits. Habit 2. They spend money on things that grow in value. Poor thinking spends money for short-term pleasure. Wealthy thinking spends money for long-term growth. A lot of people use money to feel good for a moment. They chase trends, status symbols, impulse purchases, and the illusion of success. But truly wealthy people think differently. They ask, will this expense make me better? Will it save me time? Will it improve my health? Will it increase my earning power? Will it expand my knowledge, network, or judgment? They are willing to spend on education, skills, tools, health coaching, useful experiences, and anything that increases their future capacity. They understand that not all spending is equal. Some purchases lose value the moment you make them. Others continue paying you back for years. A luxury item may impress people for a moment. A valuable skill can change your income for life. That is why wealthy people do not just ask, can I afford this? They ask, will this multiply my future value? They do not cling to money blindly, and they do not waste it carelessly. They direct it. And money, when directed wisely, becomes a tool for freedom. Habit 3. They treat time like their most valuable asset. For most people, money feels more important than time. But wealthy people know the opposite is often true. Money can be lost and earned back. Time cannot. That is why people who build lasting wealth become extremely protective of their time. They do not spend hours on low-value tasks if those tasks can be delegated. They do not manually repeat things that can be automated. They do not let unimportant people or meaningless obligations consume their best energy. They know that every yes costs something, and most often it costs time. That is why truly valuable people are very selective. They understand what deserves their direct attention and what does not. A lot of people look busy all day long but create very little wealthy. People focus on leverage. They ask, what creates the highest return on my energy? What can be simplified? What can be eliminated? What should only be done once and turned into a system? Real wealth is not just about making more money, it is also about wasting less life. The people who go furthest are often not the people doing the most. They are the people doing what matters most more often. Habit 4. They stay emotionally stable. People with very little control over their emotions often make expensive mistakes. A small insult ruins their focus. A minor problem turns into anger. A delay becomes a breakdown. A disagreement becomes a personal war. But truly wealthy people are usually much calmer. They do not panic easily. They do not explode at every inconvenience. They do not let temporary emotions make permanent decisions for them. This is not because they never feel stress. It is because they understand the cost of emotional instability. Once emotion takes over, judgment gets weaker. When judgment gets weaker, decisions get worse. And bad decisions are often what destroy opportunities, relationships, and money. People who can regulate themselves are far more likely to build and keep wealth. Calm people negotiate better. Stable people think more clearly. Controlled people recover faster. And people who recover fast do not stay down for long. The wealthy understand that self-mastery is financial power. Being loud is not strength. Being reactive is not honesty. Being unable to control yourself is not authenticity. Real power is quiet. It looks like patience, restraint, perspective, and timing. The more stable your inner world becomes, the stronger your outer life becomes. Habit 5. They do not socialize carelessly. Many people think success comes from knowing everyone. They believe more dinners, more parties, more networking, and more social activity will somehow bring more opportunity. But truly wealthy people are often surprisingly selective about who they spend time with. Their circle is usually smaller than most people expect. They do not socialize just to be seen. They do not build relationships out of boredom. They do not waste hours in shallow environments that add no value to their life. Instead, they protect their time and invest their attention in meaningful relationships. They prefer depth over noise, quality over quantity, alignment over popularity. They understand that every relationship influences your thinking, your habits, your standards, and eventually your results. If your circle is full of confusion, distraction, gossip, envy, and chaos, it becomes much harder to think clearly and move with purpose. But if your environment is clean, strong, focused, and growth-oriented, your own life begins to reflect that. Real connections are not built by trying to impress everyone. They are built through trust, consistency, mutual value, and careful selection. Wealthy people know that networking is not about collecting people. It is about staying close to the right people. A crowded social life is not always a rich life. Sometimes a quieter circle creates a more powerful future. Habit 6. They never stop learning. A lot of people think that once someone becomes successful, they can relax and stop growing. But truly wealthy people often do the opposite. They keep learning, they read books, they study trends, they ask questions. They learn from people who are better than them, they update their thinking, they challenge their assumptions, they stay curious. Why? Because they understand that the world changes fast. What worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. What made money in the past may become useless in the future. A person who stops learning often starts declining without noticing it. Wealthy people do not treat learning as something reserved for school. They treat it as a lifelong habit. To them, updating their mind is as normal as washing their face. That is because they know wealth is deeply connected to perspective. If you do not understand what is changing, you will miss where opportunity is going. If your thinking stays old, your results usually will too. Continuous learning improves judgment. Better judgment leads to better decisions, and better decisions repeated over time create better outcomes. Lasting wealth is not only about what you earn, it is also about how well you understand the world you are moving through. Habit 7. They value cleanliness, order, and structure. Many wealthy people are highly organized. Their spaces are clean, their desks are clear, their clothes are intentional, their words are measured, their files, tools, and routines are usually in order. This is not just about appearance. Cleanliness and order reflect something deeper, self-discipline. A chaotic environment often creates a chaotic mind. A disorganized life usually leads to disorganized decisions. People who manage small things well are often more capable of managing big things well too. Order reduces friction. It saves time. It improves focus. It lowers mental noise. And it helps people move through life with more clarity. Cleanliness is not vanity. It is a form of control. It shows that a person respects their environment, their time, and their responsibilities. When someone lives with order, they often think with more order too. And when they think with more order, they usually act with more precision. Wealth is easier to build when your life is not constantly fighting against your own disorder. Sometimes the difference between chaos and progress begins with something as simple as how you manage your room, your desk, your calendar, and your daily routines. Habit 8. They stay low-key and do not show off. Truly wealthy people are often quieter than people expect. They do not constantly talk about their money. They do not turn every dinner into a performance. They do not need everyone in the room to know what they own, what they earn, or how successful they are. Why? Because people with real substance usually do not need to advertise it. They understand that the most valuable things in life are often not loud. Wisdom is quiet. Confidence is quiet. Real power is quiet. Security is quiet. Showing off may win attention, but it rarely builds peace. In fact, constant display often attracts comparison, envy, distraction, and unnecessary trouble. The wealthy understand that wealth is not for performance. It is for protection, freedom, choices, and long-term positioning. That is why the more secure someone truly is, the less they usually need to prove. People who are constantly trying to look rich are often chasing validation. But people who are actually building wealth are usually too focused to waste energy on appearances. They know that silence can be strength, restraint can be wisdom, and privacy can be protection. The loudest person in the room is not always the strongest one. Very often, the strongest person is the one who does not need to announce anything. In the end, wealth is not just about how much money you make. What matters even more is whether you have built the habits that can carry wealth. The habits of wealthy people are not formed after they become rich. Most of the time, those habits are the reason they become rich in the first place. That is what many people miss. Lasting wealth is rarely built on luck alone. It is built on a system of choices that create, protect, and multiply value over time. Many people who become financially successful did not come from extraordinary backgrounds. They simply practiced stronger habits for longer. The real difference between wealthy people and those who stay stuck is often not talent, and not opportunity, but daily behavior. How you wake up, how you spend, how you manage time, how you respond to stress, how you choose your relationships, how you keep learning, how you organize your life, how you carry success. These things may seem small on their own, but time magnifies everything. That is why tiny habits repeated consistently can create massive differences over the years. So do not just envy wealthy people for what they have now. Very often, they were simply doing the quiet work while others were wasting time, chasing pleasure, following the crowd, and losing themselves to distraction. Time reveals everything. Every good habit you repeat is a brick laid for your future. Every act of discipline becomes part of your foundation. Every moment of restraint becomes strength later on. Start with one habit if you need to. Just one, practice it daily. Then keep going. Little by little you move closer to real wealth, not just the appearance of it, but the kind that lasts. Because true wealth is never only a sudden breakthrough, it is the compound effect of good habits. It is discipline practiced quietly. It is consistency maintained over time. It is becoming the kind of person who can build wealth, keep wealth, and grow wealth.